Friday, March 23rd, 2018. It's time for Progressive Washington with Rhonda, Courtney, and Brian.
Welcome to Progressive Washington. I'm Rhonda Walker.
And I'm Courtney Love. And Brian Cheeseman will be joining us in the chat room today and interjecting with any of your questions.
Yahoo!
We have a great show coming up today. We have Supreet Kaur. She is chair of Our Revolution, King County, and we're going to talk about revolutionary feminism and organizing. Then we have Courtney coming on later to get to know our districts. And then Brian, of course, will join us at the end, giving candidate updates and events and all that good stuff. Thank you all for joining today. We really appreciate you being in the audience. We would love any questions from you, so please make sure you type out question in capital letters, so we do see that and we're able to bring that in and address those for you. And share this out. Let's start building up this audience more. And also, if there's something that you would like us to hit on, somebody to interview, some issues that we haven't addressed yet, please send us an email at ProgressiveWaMedia@gmail.com. So again, thank you so very much for coming on today. I wanted to kind of get into our program by talking about, so as you guys know, Our Revolution is part of what we do outside of Progressive Washington as well. And they had a wonderful membership meeting on Wednesday, which really correlates with our show today. And it was about intersectional feminism. And there were three powerful, wonderful women speaking about it on that call. Nina Turner, of course, Lucy Flores, and Catalina Velasquez. They really were able to delve into what this means. And I learned a lot, and I'm going to learn a heck of a lot more with our guest, Supreet, coming up, really kind of breaking that down. Intersectionality is just a framework that recognizes the complex and cumulative ways that multiple forms of oppression, such as classism, sexism, and racism, intersect and impact the experience of marginalized people. So Supreet will be going into that much more in depth as we go. Welcome,
Hi.
Supreet Kaur.
Hi, Rhonda. Hi, Courtney. Thank you for having me.
Thanks you for
coming
being here. Would you just let people know a little bit about who you are? I know that you have stepped up and started an Our Revolution in King County. So just kind of go in a little bit deeper about that.
Sure. So I'm a community organizer, and I think I've been an organizer for as long as I have understood politics. It started in college, where men and women students were treated differently. I was in India back then. Women had to come home to their hostels at a specific time, whereas there was no such timing for men, and it affected the participation that women could have in extracurriculars and in sports and such and other activities. And because of that, like I fought to get that to more timing for women. And then I also fought to help a girl who was being sexually harassed by the security guard, and basically they tried to victim blame her and asked to call her parents and shame her. And because she was a first-year student, she didn't know what to do, and she reached out to me, so I was able to basically get the guy fired and make sure she faced no repercussions for that. And so that, from my college, it transformed into my community. When I was working after college in India again, I formed a group to bring attention to rape of young girls, which was very rampant at that time. And I followed President Obama's election from all the way from India and wept like a baby when he got elected. And then I got involved with Bernie Sanders' campaign when I was in America at that time. And I sort of continued doing that now too, with Our Revolution King County.
That's amazing. There's I just love learning from you because you come with such a different point of view than I've ever seen. So I learn a lot, but I also see that on top of all of this, you're a mom as well.
Yeah.
There's a nice little picture up here if John wants to show it off. He's a great little kid.
Yeah, I should tell about Andrew though that he made me a better feminist because growing up in hyper patriarchal society, I had become a radical feminist. I'll explain the difference between radical and revolutionary in a while, but basically my hatred was directed towards men and boys at that time because it affected every aspect of my life, including my education and me not being able to go out, enjoy, drink with my friends. But he sort of changed that world view for me because he's so snuggly and so cute and so kind. And even when I would I'm getting teary, but even when I would sort of react to some of the things that I saw in him that I thought were masculine, but they were basically just things children do. And the way he reacted and he understood and he communicated with me sort of made me see that it's not boys or men. It's basically children and childish attitude that is not checked in boys and they grow up to be men who have no accountability and are not in touch with the society around them.
Wow, that is a nice lesson to kind of bring us down and check us out. What is, as we were talking about, what is the revolutionary feminism, womanism? What does all that mean?
So I would like to start by distinguishing between what reactionary and revolutionary means. So reactionary means somebody who reacts to current situation and wants to take you back to the status quo or the status quo that was there before, like Nazis, for example. They want to go back to the good old days of slavery and being able to persecute Jews, and that is reactionary. When you look at the current things, that's wrong, and you want more of the status quo. And revolutionary is somebody who looks at the current problem and says, no, the system is the problem. The system needs to change. We need to upend that. We need to upend all the power dynamics that exist. And so I'm a revolutionary feminist. And here's where my feminism distinguishes from liberal feminism or radical feminism or reactionary feminism. So so here's where it differs. Before I came to the US, I wanted to be one of the first, I wanted to be a CEO of some corporation. For me, feminism meant being at the table with all these men and being able to sort of assert my dominance there too. And the more I understood about capitalism and how CEOs basically are a means to extract wealth from the workers to the shareholders. That's all the CEOs exist for. They'll fire people, they'll automate processes. It's just about saving money, taking it away from workers and giving it to the rich. Once I realized that that's what keeps women down too. These are the same people who pay women less, who profit from wars in countries, destroying families and women and children. So the solution that I came to realize was not me being another CEO, or the solution is not more female police officers or more female ICE officers. The solution is destroying those power structures that exist, those oppressive structures altogether. There should be no CEOs. Workers should own the means to the production. Workers should should get some benefit of the wealth that they create, and they should control what we produce, where we distribute, where we create jobs. Because once we do that, then there's no way in hell that we are going to move jobs from Spokane, Washington to Mexico or anywhere else, in the country, anywhere else in the world.
Well, that is a big distinction, and much more easier to understand and not so divisive when you look at it that way. So thank you for explaining that. You wanted to talk about kind of why this revolution is needed and
why is revolutionary feminism needed?
Right.
And, or socialist feminism or womanism. So I'll give an example from the 2016 presidential election between Trump and Clinton, and all the women in New York or people in New York went to Susan B. Anthony's grave and put their "I voted" stickers on her grave. Susan B. Anthony said that I will give up my arm before I fight for the right of the Negro to vote over the woman. So she was never about the right of the Black women to fight. In fact, she told them to hush, wait your turn. And but that, I don't blame the people who went and put the stickers. They probably did not know about that, because the history that we get, the information that we get, comes through gatekeepers of information, mostly mainstream media, textbooks. School boards are now controlled by Tea Party, and they are slowly in the South and Midwest especially, and they try to change, put a whitewash history, so as to say. And so we have to acknowledge that Black women, Native women, Asian women were left out of the feminist movement from the beginning. That's where womanism came from. It was Latina women, Black women owning their leadership positions, and that is my feminism. It's like understanding because you spoke of intersectionality. If you don't mind, I'll just take 1 minute to
Please.
So there's a common misconception about intersectionality that intersectionality means for a Black woman, she experiences oppression through race as well as through sexism. So feminism movement takes care of sexism, and the Black Lives Matter and all that takes care of racism, and that's it. But that's not what intersectionality is. It means for a Black woman, she experiences sexism differently than a white woman. To give you an example, I'll pull from India because that's a very stark example. In India, there is still caste system. There is Brahmins, which are the highest caste, the priest class, and then there is a few more layers, and then there is something called Dalits, who are the outcasts, the lowest level in the so-called hierarchy, which is basically just slavery. But Dalit women were not allowed to wear any upper body clothing, any jewelry, any makeup. And Brahmin women historically have been expected to put on a lot of jewelry, wear the sindoor, which shows that you're married, and wear a necklace, that Mangalsutra, which says you're married. So for Brahmin women who went in the feminist movement, they were like, yeah, you should not wear the Mangalsutra anymore. We should not put makeup. We should not adorn ourselves with gold, because that's sexism. They just want us to be, pieces of objects of beauty. But the Dalit women come out and say, but my oppression was different. I was not allowed to wear all that. So for me, wearing gold and wearing the sindoor is a mark of, it is a mark of rebellion, of revolution. And I want to claim that. So that's why we need women of color in power, because it's not just about sexism being addressed. It's about how it is addressed, what parts of sexism are addressed. And for so long, white women have led this movement that we have gotten close, but not quite there.
Right, that is true, and we've seen more and more talked about it lately, which is great. It's a conversation that's been needed to have for a very long time. So again, thank you for coming on here and speaking on it. We were going to talk about organizing, especially with being, a revolutionary feminist, how that works in the community and organizing. Do you want to touch on that?
Sure. So it's great to have ideas. It's nice to have a framework, but none of this, all of this just stays in scholarly circles unless we include it in our praxis, which is leftist word for the things you do day to day to change the system. So it's basically practice. So to transform this revolutionary feminism, socialist feminism, womanism into practice, to create a society which is more womanist and revolutionary feminist, we have to change a few things. If you don't mind, I'll just pull up the slide. I'm so sorry. This is not very smooth. Okay, yeah. So I want to talk first about how we, the leadership in the movement. We have to make sure we include more women of color, more Latina women, more trans women, more women who are sex workers, more immigrant women, more Muslim women in the leadership. And traditionally, these sections of the population are not led to think that their kind can be leaders. Like if I am, women are always told, oh, men are better leaders. That we have overcome somewhat, but in color societies, there's people often tell them, Neil deGrasse Tyson, for example, when he told his teacher he wanted to be an astronaut, she laughed at his face. And Black kids and brown kids and immigrant kids always face that. Their parents will sometimes tell, dream low, honey. So we have to understand that, look at that, and seek out people of color and immigrants and Muslims, so to bring them in, to make sure that they know they can be leaders and they are needed, and support them in whatever way we can. That is one thing we need to look at. Secondly, being a leftist myself, sometimes we tend to focus on class and try to bring back everything to class, and how explain how capitalism is the root of racism and sexism and homophobia. But we have to be very careful when we are talking to communities of color about this, or when we're talking to gay people about how homophobia comes out from classism, because you can't be erasing their identities. You cannot be saying that, oh, honey, that's not racism. That just came from, class, and it's the corporations trying to do that. I wish I could. Okay, let me explain it like this. So I saw a video right before I came online by Secular Talk, Kyle Kulinski. I'm so sorry, I like you very much, but I just wanted to bring out something. He was talking about a video by Nancy Pelosi. She was in the drag race. She went to drag race, and he started talking about, that's how you're gonna win votes. What about income inequality, and what about all these, all the different, you are for wars, and you are for not for Medicare for all. And he didn't once mention that you go on drag, that the people who she was cheating, that is the LGBT community. She did not mention once that you're going there, but you're for TPP, which would increase the cost of AIDS drugs by almost 200%. Like, connecting it back to the identity of the people who are affected. We don't want just identities, but we want to make sure that we are acknowledging that different identities have different experience, and not whitewashing it, and not always trying to look at things from our perspective. Otherwise, people of color will not feel included.
Wow. So I do agree. And one thing, as we're learning, we talk about holding space, making sure there's a space, but I liked how you focused on not just holding a space, but actually going out and
seeking people
out, and letting them know there is space here for you.
Yep.
And making that available. And it's very important, and as rising up, because we're learning too, as women, or I am, on how to be in this new world of being lifted up. And we've been fortunate, in our organization and with Uphill Media, that these men around us have had that space open. And we didn't have to fight for it. We came in, we interested, great. We would love to have female, on the show. So thank you to all the men around us, just to let you know, who have created that space.
There's one more thing, if I might add. Revolutionary feminism has space for men who have mutual respect, who understand, like, it is not just like feminism. It's not about women. It's about understanding that the capitalist class has divided us first by gender, then by race, then by immigration status. So we cannot band together and point the finger where the blame lies. And we have to sort of overcome that. We have to stop being offended by the words feminist. We have to stop being offended by somebody saying, oh, white people do this or men do this. Seek to understand, and then to talk. And Nina Turner is 100 times the person that I am, and Senator Turner said this. And even though it's hard for me sometimes, but in moments of that anger, when somebody says something against my identity, I calm myself down and I remember her words. I seek to listen, and then sort of try to explain to them my point of view. And that only lasts so long. If I don't see, good faith argument, I back off. But I try to make sure there is good faith argument from my side. And that's how we build a movement.
That's brilliant. Oh, thank you. I want to go check in the audience to see if there's any questions for you, or any comments. Brian?
Yep, we have a couple. Barbara Bartleson would like to know, does Supreet think a blue progressive wave is coming in 2018 and into 2020?
So yes. The short answer is yes, because looking at Texas primaries, first, I think more and more women will get elected, because in a couple of races, there was one Justice Democrat endorsed progressive, and there was one other progressive and a corporate Democrat in one of the races. And the other progressive won. She had only raised $40,000. The Republican spent $700,000 against both the candidates, and she still won. And she did not have lot of endorsements. She just knocked doors. So people are yearning for change, and we saw that during President Obama's election, and we saw that during Senator Sanders' primary election. And we have to give them something to fight for. We have to be at their doors, because there'll be massive propaganda machines on the televisions and the radios. So we have to be at their doors. We have to be in their communities, and we have to be there for them. If somebody in your community is being deported, go show up for them. If somebody in your community has wrongfully been imprisoned, go show up for them. If there is an environmental fight, go show up for them and build that community, because if we stand together, they have no idea what's coming for them.
Whew. Great answer.
That was great. We have one more question from Oz. He says, Patty Murray, Maria Cantwell, Hillary Clinton, in your opinion, do you think these women help to promote revolutionary feminism through their representation and voting practices?
Oh, they are antitheses to the revolutionary feminism, because just like I explained, revolutionary feminism means not more women in ICE and throwing bombs, and more women drone operators. That's not what we are talking about. Revolutionary feminism means destroy these oppressive structures that keep down women and children all across the world. And Senator Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell and Secretary Clinton, despite all the work some of the work that they have done, which was good, they have taken us back. They have created a more unstable society in the Middle East. They have Secretary Clinton, with her advocacy for the crime bill, has put more Black kids behind prison. And with her she used racially charged terms like super predators. So no, these are not feminists. They are imperialists wearing a different mask.
I'll leave it up to Oz to ask the right questions. Thank you, Oz, very much for bringing that in. Are there any other questions before we go ahead and wrap up the segment with Supreet?
That was it so far, and a great conversation in the chat. So keep on going, guys.
I think Courtney has something, it sounds like.
Yeah, it might be, it's a fresh thought in my mind, but when you were talking about your son and how you identified the behaviors that were upsetting to you in him as a childlike behaviors, ergo the behaviors you see in adults that upset you are childlike behaviors, it really made me think about how we condition it. Well, it made me think of emotional labor. And then it made me think, well, how do women and girls learn emotional labor? It's because we're told to be thoughtful. We're told to be compassionate. And so the solution is to do the same to our boys, teach compassion and thoughtfulness. And that is hardly a negative.
You are so right, because with my son, in the school that he goes to right now, Clark Elementary in public school, it's a public school, and they have 3 metrics for measuring how kids are doing: kindness, safety, and productivity. And Andrew got Shark of the Week for being kind. And I think it's he's so kind. And even with me, when he's like, Mom, Dad and Ty are the loud ones, and I am the creative one, and you are the quiet one. I was like, honey, I don't think anybody would call me the quiet one. I think I'm the kind one. And he's like, oh, Mom, I'm the kind one too. And it's just about giving your boys the same standards that you give your girls. It's teaching them compassion, accountability, responsibility, consent at every stage.
I totally agree, and that's how I've raised my children to be as well.
Oh, and your boys are some of the best in the world. Like,
as a father, I gotta say, I like to teach my boys respect. That's something I try to instill. So just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, we're all proud parents here, if you can't tell. Thank you guys again, and thank you guys in the audience and for those questions. They were fabulous. And Supreet, I really appreciate you taking the time out and coming and putting light onto this on our show. So thank you very much again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to Courtney. Courtney's going to update us on our districts. Courtney, take it away.
Thank you, Rhonda. We are now entering Get to Know Our Districts segment. And there's a few things that I'll talk about first. Washington is one of 16 battleground chambers. So these are chambers that are anticipated to be more competitive than other chambers and have the potential to see significant shifts in party control. And when we talk about chambers, that's the state legislature, the House and the Senate. So just to explain how one becomes a battleground chamber, Ballotpedia is a go-to place hub for political fact on who holds office and such like that. So Ballotopia says incumbents who won less than 55% of the vote in the last election. And then presidential candidates opposite of the incumbent's party who won the district, and the margin of victory was 10 percentage points or less. So Trump won. So Dem incumbents who won with less than 10% more. So let me read it. Whose victory was 10 percentage points or less. So if you only got, you're looking for greater than 55% of the vote. So anything under than 55% of the vote, you're on the list. If you're opposite, if you're a Democrat. The other option is presidential candidate won the opposite of the incumbent's party that won the district, and the incumbent did not file to run for re-election. I feel like I might have misedited this part, but so incumbent's part. So a Democrat who is not filing to run. That's not really the one that comes up in our list. And then if the presidential candidate opposite of the incumbent's party won the district by 20 points or more. So even if a Democrat won more than 55% of the vote, if the overall district went with greater than 20% to vote or to Trump, then that would also make the list. But mainly we're looking at people who won less than 55% of the vote in the last election, and or people who whose district went to Trump, but who are seated Democrats. And then I also want to tell you that LD stands for Legislative District, and we have 49 of them in Washington. And position 1 and position 2 are how you denote state representatives' seats. So each district has 2 representatives, and it is position 1 and position 2, but it is also referenced as A and B, but it'll be referenced mostly here, if I've got all my edits correct, as position 1 and 2. So then we've got what I like to call the list of quitters, the quitters. 3 Republicans have already announced that they will not be running for re-election. Jay Rodney, Republican from Legislative District 5, Position 1. Michael Baumgartner, Republican from Legislative District 6. He's in the Senate. And then Melanie Stombaugh, she's a Republican from LD 25, Position 1. And we have a little bit of information about, Stombaugh, let's see. From 6, Michael Baumgartner, that's the Spokane area, Cheney and Medical Lake. I'm sorry, John, I'm messing with you. We'll go Jay Rodney, Position 1. He's a Republican. That's Black Diamond, Carnation, Enumclaw, Issaquah, Kent, that area. Michael Baumgartner is the Senate, Spokane area, and Cheney Medical Lake. I'll slow down, John. I promise I'll get this better.
You're doing fine. I wanted to tell you that these people on your list here, that's point number 3. It's just weird, worded wrong here, but up here, or where is it?
That's right.
This is point number 3. Presidential candidate opposite of the incumbent's party won the district. The incumbent did not file to run for re-election or whatever. I mean, this basically, we got a lot of, the quitters are the people where it's a Republican or whatever, and we got an opportunity to get in there and take it.
Yeah.
Right? And you got these 3 people right here. Right?
So District 5, 6, and 25 have that going on. And I want you to know where your legislative districts are. Where do you live? You need to know this. This is partly why I put the maps that are really hard to read, but with the main cities in the area. So you hear where you live. So races to watch listed in Ballotpedia. We have, I think, 13 of them in the House and 4 in the Senate. And one we already talked about, LD5, with Jay Rodney, who's one of the quitters. Well, position 2 is also held by a Republican, and so he's up for re-election and also didn't win more than 55%. So we can challenge him. Then let's see. So, and we already discussed where LD5 is. It's the North Bend, Kent, Enum, Issaquah area. Then we've got Legislative District 17 and position 1. And I didn't add names. I'm not talking about the people. We're talking about the locations here. Legislative District 17, if you live in the Battleground, Vancouver, Mount Vista area, this is you. Get someone running. We need people in each of these races challenging the weakest among them. Go get them. And I also noticed, because District 19 is next, that's Aberdeen, Centralia, Longview, Montesano, Westport, Kelso, Castle Rock. This is Aberdeen. This is Southwest Washington. Now, this is also Jamie Herrera Butler's area. Yeah, I got that right. So, who's running again? Jamie Herrera Butler, Dorothy Gasquet, our endorsed candidate. So, get out there. This is your time. This is your place. Make it happen. It's your revolution. So then we've also got District 21. That one is a Democrat at risk in the Edmonds, Everett, Linwood, Mukilteo race in the Senate. A Democrat in the Senate, because this district went for Trump, apparently, or they won less than 55% of the vote. Either way, rally behind your Dem, or make sure you got a progressive to run against them. And then, let's see. We've got Legislative District 28, DuPont, Fircrest, Lakewood, University Place, Stillicum, Anderson Island, Spanaway, Parkland, and a little bit of Tacoma, but not much. I almost hesitated to put it on there. But just so you know, it does carry over. So the 28th has, I believe, a Republican at risk in position 1. And get them out of there. They've got a little more money than this rest of Tacoma, and so they can run a little red over there, but you're too close to Tacoma to be voting red. Come on, people, make it happen. Then, also, but here's the thing about the 28th. They also have a Dem in position 2 and a Republican in position 1. Both of them are at risk. So either salvage the Democrat and challenge the Republican, or challenge both of them with progressives. Well, I mean, definitely the Republican. So then we've got, District 30, which is Algona, Auburn, Des Moines, Federal Way, Milton, and Pacific. And that LD30 also has a Senate race and a House. Oh, they're all at risk. But the sad thing is that the House members are Democrats and the Senate is Republican. So you have to challenge a senator, get a Dem in there, a progressive in there, and then either salvage or run progressives in the House race. I will come back to each of these districts, hopefully with a little more detail, a little more in-depth about who is in those seats. I'm mostly telling the listeners so that people are hearing where they live has something going on, places they have lived and know people in, family members. Tell people when you hear, I know someone who lives there, make sure you tell them. So then we've got the 42nd district in Bellingham, Blaine, Ferndale, Linden, Nooksack, Custer, Kendall area, way up north. just south of Canada. That's Canada's Mexico. And they have a position one on is a Republican, and they are weak. And or yeah, I think it's actually the guy who took the lead in Washington State for Donald Trump's campaign and hosted a Donald Trump event here. So if there's anyone to push out, it's that one, upon confirmation, of course. So then we've got District 45, and 45 has a Dem senator who is at risk. And so rally round, folks who live in Duval, Kirkland, Redmond, Sammamish, and Woodinville. We got rally or challenge with a more progressive person. Again, I'm not sure if progressives are sitting in these seats or not. So, but here's where it gets fun. We've got special cases here. And they're not, one is not very fun to talk about. And partly because I live in this district. But in District 29, we've got David Sawyer, who is in position 2, and he's a Democrat. And I have been in disagreement with him on a couple of issues, and I've been frank with him in that and communicating with him. And I offer suggestions as to how to find solutions around the problems he faces and what swayed him. So I generally like the guy. He is fairly progressive. He, I understand he contacted the Bernie Sanders campaign and offered to, ship your materials here. I'll hold it until you open a location. So like, this hurts. It hurts my little progressive heart. But he is under investigation for sexual misconduct. And so we have to take that very seriously. There is an investigation going on. So I will, just like there's a Russia investigation, I really don't want to talk about it too much until we find out what comes out of it. And maybe we'll have some people on in the future who can talk about firsthand experience with it. But this is Tacoma, Lakewood, Frederickson, Joint Base, Lewis McChord, Midland, Parkland, and Spanaway. And so it is definitely now a race to watch. That's some serious business going on there. So we'll keep our eye on that and have follow-ups. So moving on to a less bad story, Legislative District 35 has Tim Sheldon, and he has a D behind his name, but it's followed by INO. He's a Dino, Democrat in name only. He is in the Senate. He is the District 35 is Bremerton, Allen, Port Orchard, Gorst, Grand Mound, Shelton and Hoodsport, Skokomish, and Union area. It is a vast and space because population density is low. So it's you gotta network great distances, and thank goodness for technology, because you can do it now. You need to get this guy out. He only votes with Republicans, basically. He was on the Majority Coalition Caucus. In fact, he was a founding member. That was a couple years ago, or last year, I think. They got disbanded because they lost the majority. But in our state Senate, or in our state, Senate specifically in this case, Democrats held the majority, except he started caucusing with this Majority Coalition Caucus, the MCC. He and now Lieutenant Governor Brad Owen. So also keep your eye on Brad Owen. Now there's another race to watch. But they were caucusing with Republicans, giving the Republican voice the majority in our state. So we can't let that continue. We can't let that happen ever again. And we can't let someone sit in a seat with a D behind their name when they're really a Republican. So we're going after this seat. We're done with this. So that is basically the wrap up, the first overview of our legislative districts. know where you live, know who is your representative and who your senator is, and put their numbers in speed dial. Thank you very much. Any questions?
You did.
I can't hear you,
Hold on.
Rhonda.
I apologize. Any questions or comments? I was just jumping in to make sure that we got to the questions in the audience before we moved on.
I'm not seeing any. Talking about some of the things going on in the news today, and some very good info that you're giving out there. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. These legislative districts are very, very important, especially if we want to see any change coming in Washington. This is where it's done. All right. Since Brian's up on the screen already, Brian, would you like to go ahead and go into your bit tonight?
We will. We got progressive updates and events right now. Let me get everything squared away here. All right. So first off, welcome. I'm back for today. Don't know if I'll be back next week, but I hope so. Moving to Moses Lake, and so we're going to be having some interruptions in my schedule and such, so just bear with it. But I'll be here when I can, and I like it when I am. So I want to let everybody know that we've had a great interview earlier in the week with Steve Hoffman. Please check it out on our WABC channel when you get a chance. All of these links are going to be down below, of course, just like every week. We've got other candidates in this race are Jeremy Tootin, Gigi Ferguson, David Strider, Clay Johnson. They're also looking for our endorsement, and stay tuned for further updates there. Next up, we have all of the events. Sorry, I messed that up for you, John. We've got the No More Fools Streamathon coming, and I'm looking forward to this. And be sure to sign up for the Thunderclap. It's a one-time sign up on Twitter, also on your Facebook page, just one time, and it'll go across all your platforms and get the word out that we're having a neat little event. We're going to have all of our endorsed candidates come on for a minute and give an update and any pertinent information, and have some music and some chat. So hopefully I'll be able to make it, but if I won't be there, I know that the rest of the crew will be. So I please encourage you guys to attend that and check it out. We need your help. Be sure to share. Hey, moving on to our next event is Monday, April 9th, 10:30. Tambourine will be at the Parkland Spanaway Public Library for a meet and greet. This is right on Pacific Ave. It's not hard to find. She's going to be there taking questions. Courtney might be able to be there as well, and she might have some info to be able to throw in here. Did you have anything that you wanted to say about this event, Courtney?
Oh, well, it is very much near me. And I will probably be there. It is, that's the Monday, Rhonda, that I was worried I couldn't make. Yay, so I can be there where you want me. But so yeah, Monday the 9th, Parkland Spanaway. We'll also be having other events nearby because this is a daytime event. I think it's from 10:30 or so in the morning. But we'll have neighboring community events as well that are, there's at least one Sunday event and a Tuesday evening event in the Summit and Lakewood areas, which are both east and, well, not both of them, but one is east and one is west of that area. So those will be being posted very shortly, and you'll find links to those also on Washington Berniecrat's Coalition Facebook.
All right. Thank you for that. Moving on to our next event is going to be March 24th at Genesee Park in Seattle. It'll be a canvas event for Sarah Smith. Snacks and water will be provided. Weather could be intermittent, so prepare for anything. Y'all live in Washington, y'all should know. So we're going to be there, rain or shine, but there will be some phone banking opportunities if it does get rained out. I want to encourage people too that phone banking can be done from anywhere in the whole United States. So if you support our candidates and you want to get involved, please phone bank. You can do it from anywhere. I want to say that again, anywhere. Anytime.
Probably the whole world.
Ideally, yeah, I would imagine, but the long distance charges might get a little bit high.
And also, people might think we outsource.
Right, and we're all grassroots here.
That's hilarious.
So, okay, and we've got next, Dorothy has lots of events coming up. She's got her page all lined up and set to go. She's got her HQ opened. She's hitting the ground running, needs people to follow through on volunteering. And when we say follow through, show up. If you say you're going to be there, please. We need you. So don't volunteer if you can't make it. If you can volunteer, please make it there. And, we all know that people have circumstances, but we need your help. If we want to get these candidates elected and get a brand new Congress and get all the good things that us progressives are fighting for, please show up to these events. Next, Robert Hunziker. He's been pretty busy with Uphill Media and us and Waback and canvassing, doing all sorts of cool things. He's had interviews recently. He's reaching out to his constituents. He has a casual meet and greet event at the David Buster's in Auburn. That'll be starting around noon. He's also asking for volunteers too, to help him get through the primary and on to bigger and better things. We really would like to get him elected. So, if you can volunteer any of your time, any donations help. We really need your help doing all that stuff.
Can you mention a couple of the major cities in that area?
In CD 8, there's Kent, Auburn, Buckley. I mean, it's huge, right? It even goes over the mountains into eastern Washington a little bit, over Leavenworth and Wenatchee, Lake Chelan, covers all of Lake Chelan. Ellensburg, it goes up the I-90 pass and all of that. It's huge. So any of these things in Auburn is the higher density population. So if you can get to Auburn and get to some of these events, really use your help.
Auburn and Issaquah, and I can't read them.
Yeah, there's a lot, and it's huge, but we have all the links below. I also included links to where I get all of my maps and my information. So if you really want to know where your legislative districts are, what cities are nearby you, I put links down below for all of those. So please check those out. Moving on to our next one. We will be having an interview coming up on Monday. It'll be Colin Carlson, and he's running for the 2nd Congressional District. We will look forward to learning more about his campaign. You can find him on Facebook. His link will be in the description below as well. We've got another event, March for Our Lives. This is a nationwide march. I've mentioned this before. It's fairly important with the students in Parkland, Florida. They're actually going to be marching on Washington, D.C. There's going to be marches all over the nation in correlation with their march. I also put a little thought bubble there. Don't forget that the 24th is also Washington Legislative Caucus Day. So thank you, Courtney. That was your little thought bubble idea that I put in there for you.
Thank you.
And still calling all fiber artists. Laura Fielding and the Red Berets need help to complete their historic campaign to raise awareness for Medicare for All and I-1600 here in Washington. Like always, links are below. Check them out. If you know anything about knitting or crocheting, they could use your help. And if you want to have it go for a good cause, this is a great cause. So this brings me to my final slide. It's the Washington 1600. We have a huge amount of events, and we're putting a call out for signature gatherers. We need leads. We need volunteers, people that want to get to know the people in their area and to get signatures for this petition. There's an event that Trevor Noah is going to be hosting this weekend, or he's one of the lead speakers, and we need help. It's going to be a pretty big event. I guess he brings a pretty big crowd, even if you don't really agree with what he says. But we're looking at getting some people there. That's all I have today. Oh, real quick, I want to say Sunday is there's a volunteer Q&A with the I-1600 on Zoom. A great opportunity to ask some questions and get to know some of the people in the higher up of whole Washington and the I-1600 crew. Any questions, they're really good at answering them and giving you all the information that you need to at least go out and have some education on what you're doing being a signature gatherer. So that's all I got today. I'll be back when I can. And if you want any updates on my move, hit me up on social media. All my links are below. Also my GoFundMe, if you get a chance. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you so much, Brian. I saw Courtney having her little, I want something to say, fingers up. Were you wanting to say something there?
Yeah, the Red Beret request had me thinking that we need to start mentioning this now. May 6th is a Sunday. It's National Nurses Day. And the Red Berets Medicare for All is planning a march and rally. And we're very excited, and we're putting out big invitations, and we hope to have big announcements soon. But find the event on Facebook. Maybe we can add the link and post. But mark going, because the more people going, the more likely we're going to have big announcements later. So May 6th, and really put the whole weekend, black it out with Tacoma, because that's how Tacoma rolls. We just black shit out. You're coming to Tacoma May 6th, the whole weekend. It's where Congressional District 6, 8, 10, and 9 touch. So that's why we're doing it in Tacoma, and because that's where the people who are planning it are, and it's because Tacoma's awesome. So, but don't tell anybody. Okay, don't tell them that, because I don't want them to stay. But Tacoma's got problems, but not enough to keep you away for a weekend.
Right. You want to kind of go into how they can maybe help support us in the future to be able to keep bringing these things to the audience here.
Oh, I do. There's nothing more I enjoy than asking people to send us money. So send Uphill Media, who used to be Bernie 2016 TV and Political Revolution TV. Send them some money. You go to their website, which is uphillmedia.org. You find the link, the button that says live stream productions. Then you find the button that says Progressive Washington. Now you've found us, and you should just linger there for a little while, but then you click support our show. It all goes into the Uphill Media. I like to think of it as a cauldron. I'm trying to fill a cauldron of money here. And it all goes into the Uphill Media cauldron. But they know it's because of us. They know it's because it came through us. And that is all that matters to me. So send your dollar, because we need 130 people to send $1 each month. Is that right? Yeah. Let me see. Let me check my slide. Yes, 130 people sending $1 a month will cover the expenses of our show. Now, we also need you to bump it up a few dollars, because we have expenses. I need a boom for my mic stand and a box that I don't know the name of, but I know people who know the name of, and just know I need it. So there are things we need so that we can sound better, look better. Well, I mean, it's hard to look better than Rhonda and Supreet and I do, you know. But please help. Anything to make us look better.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Courtney. So since we still have Supreet with us, she did get to choose our song today. So I was going to let her just introduce the song on the way out.
Yeah. I don't have to be on the screen. I want to tell you one thing. I've been lobbying for this song for a long time, and I finally got it.
Yes, you have.
And so I have been. I just want to give you some picture. Say one thing about it. My friend told me about this. That last year, actually this year in Florida, an elementary school lost its AC. And the kids were forced to go to school anyway in summer. We talk about, and this happened in multiple schools, and we talk about North Korea doing stuff like this, like not having heat for their children, but having it for their politicians, and we paint it as something evil. We have to recognize it happens in our backyard. And with that, there's now I'll talk about Kate Tempest in her song. She grew up in Southeast London, and in this song she's talking about paints a picture of Esther, a social worker who is agonized by the cruelty and hypocrisy of our consumer society, and which is filled with over-medicated children, terrorism, gun violence, racism, poverty, and fetishized celebrities. So let's hear from Kate.
From her mind. Europe is lost, America lost, London lost. Still we are clamoring victory. All that is meaningless rules, and we have learned nothing from history. The people are dead in their lifetimes, dazed in the shine of the streets. But look how the traffic's still moving, the system's too slick to stop working. Business is good and there's bands every night in the pubs. Man, it's 2-for-1 drinks in the clubs. Are we scrubbed up well, washed off the work and the stress? Now all we want some excess, better yet a night to remember that we'll soon forget. All of the blood that was bled for these cities to grow, all of the bodies that fell, the roots that were dug from this earth so these games could be played. I see it tonight in the stains on my hands. The buildings are screaming. Can't ask for help though, nobody knows me. Hostile, worried, lonely, moving our packs like these were the rights we were born to. Working and working so we can be all that we want, then dancing the drudgery off. But even the drugs have got boring. But sex is still good when you get it. To sleep, to dream, to keep the dream in reach, to eat your dream. Now don't weep, don't scream, just keep it in, keep sleeping in. But what am I gonna do to wake up? I feel the cost of it pushing my body, like I push my hands into pockets and softly I walk and I see it, this is all we deserve. The wrongs of our past have resurfaced despite all we did to vanquish the traces. Man, my very language is tainted with all that we stole. To replace it with this, I am quiet, feeling the onset of riot. Riots are tiny, man, systems are huge. Traffic keeps moving, proving there's nothing to do, cause it's big business, baby, and its smile is hideous. Top-down violence, structural viciousness. Your kids are dosed up on prescriptions and sedatives, but don't worry about that, mate. Worry about the terrorists. I mean, the water level's rising, the animals, the elephants, the polar bears are dying. Stop crying, stop buying. But what about the oil spill? Shh. No one likes a party pooping spoil sport. Massacres, 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 new shoes. Ghettoized children murdered in broad daylight by those employed to protect them. Live porn streamed to your preteen's bedroom. Glass ceiling, no headroom. Half a generation live beneath the breadline. Oh, but it's happy hour on the high street. Friday night at last, lads, my treat. All went fine till that kid got glassed and in the last bar place went nuts. You can ask our Lou, it was a madness, the road ran red, pure claret. Oh, and about them immigrants, I can't stand them. I mean, mostly I mind my own business. They're only coming over here to get rich. It's a sickness. England, England, patriotism. And you wonder why kids want to die for religion. It goes work all your life for a pittance. Maybe you'll make it to manager. Pray for a raise, cross the beige days off on your beach babe calendar. The anarchists are desperate for something to smash. Scandalous pictures of fashionable rappers in glamorous magazines. Who's dating who? Politico cash in an envelope. Caught sniffing lines off a prostitute's prosthetic tits. It was back to the House of Lords with slapped wrists. They abduct kids. They molest the heads of dead pigs. But him in the hoodie with a couple of spliffs, jail him. He's the criminal. It's the bored of it all generation. The product of product placement and manipulation. Shoot them up brutal, duty of care. Come on. New shoes, beautiful hair. Bullsh, saccharine ballads and selfies and selfies and selfies. Here's me outside the palace of me. Construct of self and psychosis, and meanwhile the people were dead in their droves and nobody noticed. No, wait, somebody noticed. I could tell by the emoji he posted. Sleep like a gloved hand covers our eyes. The lights are so nice and bright, so let's dream. Oh, but some of us are stuck like stones in the slipstream. What am I gonna do to wake up? We are lost, 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 we are lost. Are we lost? We are lost, we are lost, we are lost, we are lost, we are lost. We are lost, we are lost, we are lost, and still nothing will stop, nothing pauses. We have ambitions and friendships and courtships to think of, divorces to drink off, the thoughts of the money, the oil. The planet is shaken and spoiled. Your life is a plaything, a garment to soil. The toil, I can't see it ending at all, only the end. Tell me, how is this something to cherish when the tribesmen are dead in their deserts to make room for alien structures? Develop, kill what you find if it threatens you. No trace of love in the hunt for the bigger buck. Here in a land where nobody gives a